our live stream. I'm Dr. Trevor Hislop, joined with Dr. Mike Roncesvalles. Mike, it's great to be with you tonight.
Dr. Trevor, what's happening, man?
It's fun to be here. Tonight we are talking about rest, renewal, and rhythms that restore. And we're really excited. Actually, tonight is a kickoff event for the new challenge that's going out called Breathe Again. And we're going to talk more about that challenge, what it's all about, why we're doing it. But as we get into tonight, some of you, however you found us, whether that was a social media post, maybe you got an email and you subscribed to Live Well Coaching, maybe it was word of mouth, whatever it was that sparked that interest for you, really glad that you're here. So this idea of rest, renewal, and rhythms that restore. I know for you and I, Mike, as we thought about this, we wanted this to be something that could be appropriate for anyone, any time of the year. But we thought, what a perfect challenge and a perfect focus for us to think about in the summer. I've met with lots of people who feel like they want to use this summer in some way of some kind of like reset of their pace, reset of their rhythms. And that's actually what inspired part of this for us, is to be able to, again, let's spend some time this summer creating a resource, having a conversation with people, again, to do this work around rest, renewal, and rhythms. And so just maybe give you a little bit of kind of a guidance of where we're headed for tonight. We're gonna, we want to make this a conversation, and if you are joining us live, we actually have a chat feature. You can just chat us. We would love to hear where you're from. Say hello to us if you have questions as we're talking. We'll do our best to be able to interact as much as possible, again, in this live space. If you catch this after the fact, you can always reach out to us through Live Well Coaching. Again, we would love to connect with you. So before we jump into it, Mike, you talk about signs of really sort of depletion. I just want to kind of just call it out. I think for so many of us, like, we're just actually more tired than we're willing to acknowledge. And we're going to talk a little bit more about why that might be the case. But again, I just want to start from this place to be able to say a lot of us are running at a pretty fast pace. A lot of us are carrying an awful lot. And we just want to shift into this place early to be able to say, let's just be honest.
Yeah, man. Let me just kind of jump in there with people and talk a little bit. Sorry about that. Let me just jump in there and talk a little bit with you, Trevor, about what depletion really looks like, because I think that's some of what happens for us in this culture. Is we get in a situation where we don't really recognize that we're depleted because we're just so used to living like that. So a lot of people don't recognize they're depleted until basically it's a big problem. And so depletion is not just being tired after a long day. It's not just needing another cup of coffee. I'm talking about living in a state where your emotional, physical, and mental batteries have just been running on empty for weeks and months. And for some of you, it's even years, right? Like, you can look back and say, man, I remember 2022 or 2020 during COVID, and I
Right.
felt the same way I feel now. And one of the big problems is that depletion sneaks up on us, and it puts us in a position where we really just don't even know it's happening. So here's a question I want you guys to think about. This will help you tease out what's really going on inside of your heart and your mind. When was the last time you actually felt deeply rested? Deeply rested. Not distracted, not sitting on the couch just scrolling on your phone, not taking a vacation when you didn't answer, emails, or I mean genuinely restored. And for a lot of people, you can't remember when that happened. I just got this thing for Father's Day. It's pretty awesome. It's a Whoop. And every day, Trevor, I
Yeah.
I get up in the morning like 6:30 a.m. and instead of walking outside and getting sunlight in my eyes and doing all the cool stuff that I'm supposed
Right.
to do, I instantly go to my phone, open my Whoop app, because I want to see how my sleep went. And
Hmm.
shockingly, there's moments where I've been pretty restored. I've had this thing a week now, and
Wow.
I have some pretty restorative sleep going on. So I want you guys to think like, when's the last time that you genuinely felt restored?
Hmm.
One of the first signs of depletion is when you can't really remember that, right? When you just are emotionally thin is what we call it at
Hmm.
the office, right? So a lot of times we're emotionally flexible, right? That's good, and we can tolerate inconveniences, and we let the little things roll off our back. It's no big deal. I get it, man. Like, and we can get there, but then when we're depleted, everything just feels heavier, right? Someone cuts us off in traffic and it feels big. Your kid spills a drink, it feels massive. A coworker makes one little comment, they say one thing, and it just gets under your skin, and suddenly we react more strongly to that situation. And a lot of times we're acting more strongly than the situation deserves. And it's not because we're messed up or we're broken or we're bad people. It's because our emotional reserves they've really gotten really very, very small. So I like to think about the
Yeah.
metaphor of a phone battery, Trevor. If your phone is
Right.
charged to 100%, you can stream videos. Maybe some of you are doing that right now. You can use GPS, you can answer emails. It barely affects your battery. But when your phone gets down to 2%, man, everything is a crisis. You ever been there? Been at like a theme park or
Sure have.
someplace you don't have a
Yeah.
charger, and you're like, okay, I have to close every app. I have to do everything to make sure I restore every ounce of battery that I have because it's critical. I can see it going down, and that's exactly what a lot of us are dealing with. All the apps are open in the background of our life. Our mind is just running all the things that we
Mm.
talk about. We have a million things going on, and you can tell this is not normal. I I I don't have the reserves that I normally have. I don't
Yeah.
feel restored. I don't feel like I can handle things. And so that running on emotional empty, that recognizing that you're just thin,
Mm.
that's going to drive all kinds of irritability. It's going to drive sometimes chronic anger. It's going to drive uh, exhaustion that's mixed with the irritability. And I find that a lot.
Right.
When I get real depleted, it's not just like I'm a jerk. I mean, I can be, trust me, but it's that I'm a jerk, but I feel exhausted in it, and I know I'm
Mm.
saying something or doing something because I just don't have the energy to say it differently, you know. So it's kind of what I would put out there as far as a gauge for those of you that are watching to step back and say, okay, how do I know if I'm depleted? Well, are you experiencing these moments where it feels like your battery's going dead, you're on the edge, you're emotionally thin, things feel irritable, things feel bigger than they should be, and you just don't have the emotional resources to
Mm.
be able to function the way you can in a normal situation? That's depletion, and it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge problem. In fact, Mike, I see this a lot. I think you do too in the office where I think it's so often we just minimize this stress, this load, the heaviness that we feel, right? Like just grind it out. We almost celebrate it in kind of a way, right? Like it's this part of us that wants to push against, hey, I can't afford to be depleted.
Yeah, yeah. We wear it like a badge. I mean,
Right.
how many times do you talk to people and how you doing? Oh man, I'm stressed. I'm on the wire, man. I'm on the bubble. Yeah, I worked 60 hours last week. I worked 80 hours last week. Do the math on that, by the way. These people that are working 80 hours, it's
Right.
pretty much working and sleeping.
All the
That's
time.
how. That's
Yeah.
about
And
all
then
you've got, right?
the celebrated part is then people respond with like, "Oh man, that's awesome. Good for you."
Yeah, yeah, that's it's amazing. And you walk away, you're like, oh man, Trevor, Mike, whatever, they work so hard. There's
Yeah.
like there's admiration to it. Like, man, you're a good person. You have got it all together because you put yourself through misery. You're like as miserable, and I'm impressed. That's kind of what we say.
That's right, right. And I think that just to maybe talk about that and transition to, this kind of simple question is why is it so hard right? Why is rest so hard? Why is it so hard for us to slow down? And I think there's lots of answers to this simple question. So let's just kind of walk through a few of them. I think first and foremost is we just live in a culture, as Mike just said, we celebrate this pace, this chaotic, over the top, too busy, over functioning pace. And what happens over time is that starts to become normal. Like even in the midst of as crazy as it is, it starts to feel normal. And when normal starts to set in, anything other than that starts to feel uncomfortable. And so the crazy kind of foundation idea is it feels really uncomfortable to slow down because it's not normal, right? And it's like so disorienting, I think, for us that slowing down is somehow against the grain. It's somehow abnormal to our own pace, but I think to our culture and society. And so,
Mhm.
when we think about this idea of rest, we've done several other challenges where this has shown up in the past, and we've talked about the idea of. I think for some of us, we use rest like it's some kind of reward at the end of the tunnel, right? If we can just push through, if we can just get through, like rest is what I'll do if I can just push through the week and get to the weekend, or rest is what I'll do if I can just push through the day and get to the night, or rest is what I'll do if I can just push through to get to vacation or get to the next holiday. But here's what often happens is we never get to the end of that tunnel because there's just always one more thing on our to-do list, right? Whenever we have any space or time, we fill it with the next thing and the next thing
Mhm.
and the next thing. And so when we think about this idea is why rest feels so hard, I think there's actually internally some things that impact this. I think for a lot of us, we were taught, we were trained, we grew up in families and in subcultures where we were essentially told that rest is weakness,
Mhm.
right? Like if you slow down, you're lazy. And so there's like almost this kind of guilt or shame associated with like I could never slow down because then I wouldn't have the work ethic that I've worked so hard, right, to build and maintain. Or I think for many of us, we connect it to some kind of identity feature inside of us, like this part of us that says I'm a hard worker. That's what I do. And if I'm not working hard, then I'm not being true to myself. Or I think for many of us, we connect to the part of identity that has worth and value to it, right? This idea of like, hey, I matter more when I do more.
Yeah.
And so if I actually were to slow down, right, well, that would directly threaten my sense of identity. Or for some, there's this sense of like, I have to keep hustling and I have to keep going because it's important that I perform, right? Or even it's important that I please everybody around me. And pretty soon, this isn't about rest anymore, right? This is about perfectionism. This is about people pleasing. This is about insecurity that's founded in this need to keep perpetually moving because anything less than that means I don't matter, right? Like there's a lot of depth to that.
Yeah, and Trevor, I work a lot with people from a cognitive behavioral perspective.
Yeah.
That's a modality that we use in the clinical office that looks at the connection between thoughts and feelings and behavior. And for those of you that are people of faith, you've heard a lot about this for a long time, right? Because it's a very
Hmm.
kind of scriptural biblical principle to think that we're renewed when or we're transformed when we renew our minds. Like that's a people preach sermons about, people write books about it. Like that's just a part of the Christian culture. But
Right.
what cognitive behavioral therapy tells us, and what really in some ways our faith informs, is the idea that we have these core beliefs about ourselves and about what makes us acceptable, worthwhile, significant, valuable, lovable. And these core beliefs become the lens through which we view our world. It's like the way we interpret the world is driven by this filter that filters every bit of information that we got. So any relationship, any environment, any situation we come in contact with,
Mhm.
it's filtered through that core belief. And a lot of times it's the core beliefs that say rest is bad. You mentioned it earlier. We grow up in these families and they
Right.
teach us don't sit there. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your parents were driving you hard. A lot of guilt and shame or punishment connected to not working. And if it wasn't a family of origin issue, sometimes it's maybe just the culture that you grew up in. If you go to some of these private schools that are obsessed with performance,
Yeah.
you can't spend 12 years in an environment like that that's very perfectionistic and leave and feel super great about not working. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
I went, Trevor, when I was at Wheaton, I tell people this all the
Yeah.
time. I loved Wheaton. Wheaton College, I got my doctorate from Wheaton College. It's a great college. It's a wonderful place to be. I was really blessed to be there, kind of lucky to be there in a lot of ways.
Right.
But I tell you what, they were impressed with themselves. Wheaton, when you get there, you know those people write the books, those people are working hard, those people are perfectionists. And when you live in that environment, I was a
Mhm.
pretty laid back guy when I got there. But when I left, I struggled to figure out, wait, how do I reclaim some of the parts of me that I'm so comfortable? I was really comfortable with restorative pieces and taking breaks. But I left and I was like, I found myself still running on this treadmill like everything I was going to do was going to be evaluated. So it can be
Yeah.
your family. It can also be a really rigorous academic environment. A lot of doctors who've been to med school or nurses who've been trained or people that go to higher education. You leave those environments feeling guilty about fill in the blank, anything
Yeah.
related to rest.
Yeah.
So,
That's good. As you were talking about this, that it made me think it's almost in some ways it totally makes sense, but there's other part of it. It feels almost counterintuitive because, like, if we think about it from our faith foundation, I mean, from the very beginning, actually, I mean, the Genesis chapter 2, right, where chapter 1 actually, where it starts, with this God made the heavens and the earth, and went through the 7 days, and on the seventh day he rested. Right? Like from the very beginning, God set the pace for us to rest. And then what's interesting, if you kind of follow that through the biblical narrative, particularly in the Old Testament, it's like they had to make rules about the rules so you could keep the rules, to like rest on the Sabbath on the seventh day. And
yeah.
it just kind of just perpetuated this whole kind of, again, counterintuitive cycle of just keep working and working and working. And then this rigid kind of framework about not just if we rested, but how we rested, when we rested, and everything about it. And so what would seem very natural, very wired into our very DNA, like God's intelligent design for us, right? Like it would just come naturally, is actually rather hard for us.
So here's what we do with that, Trevor. We take that part of it that feels so hard
Hmm.
and we try to double down and say, okay, wait, but I need to do this. I need to take care of myself and I need to rest and I need to figure out how to relax. I'm uptight,
Right.
right? So we
Yeah.
tell ourselves these things and then we say, okay, let me make a list of things now
Right.
that I can use to try to rest with. And usually the list of things that you've made that feel in theory really good and connected to your rest and relaxation and restoration are usually just, it's more spin, it's more stress, it's more things, it's more activities. I'll give you some ideas, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how about your phone? How about your phone? You want to know where my phone's at? Literally right here. It's never far from me. Trust me. I love it. I love my phone. It's so awesome. You might have noticed. I found myself when this whole thing started about 20 minutes ago. I was on my phone. Did you see me? I hope you didn't see me, Trevor, because
You
but
fortunately you had it below the camera, so I think we were good. Well done.
Trevor was introducing this live stream, and I promise you, I was texting my son. I promise you. because so we do these things that we say, oh, I'm going to rest. So I'm just going to get on the couch and, do a little social media. And
Mm,
it's not restorative at all. It's an escape. At the office, we call it
yeah.
dissociation. You just
Right.
get away from things, but it's not rest. A lot of times people will say, okay, I'll do healthy things. I'll be active. And so some of you have said, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to become a triathlete. And you have spent hours and hours and hours working on quote unquote doing healthy things. But really what you're doing is you're performing. Really what you're doing is you're stuck on another treadmill. It might not be work, but it's another
Mm,
thing that just keeps you grinding and it keeps you feeling valuable. Go back to the core belief piece we just talked about. And it keeps you in a position where you're not just able to settle down and feel rested and just feel okay. You're just grinding on the list of things that you're saying, these are the healthy things, and I'll do it. Some of you do it with relationships. You escape into relationships. It might be people
mm,
pleasing, it might be communication. Some of you need to hear this. You're married and you've put on the list, healthy relationships, supportive relationships are important. And so what you do is you lean so hard into that relationship and you're communicating at all cost. You're driving your spouse crazy because you never just like sit. You can't ever sit in silence because you're always going to try to be connect with this thing that's actually healthy, but you're using it in a way that you're just escaping with it, you're dissociating with it. So it doesn't matter whether it's a phone, and it could be exercise or triathlons, or it could be a relationship. You're doing things that give you temporary relief without real renewal. In the nervous system, your wiring, your neurology requires renewal. It requires real renewal, and restoration helps people return to a steadier place, to a clearer place, to a more present position in relationships. And the research on this is super, very clear, guys. The people that actually know how to rest, they know how to have restorative sleep and peace. Those people perform better.
yeah.
Is that nuts? It doesn't make any sense. But wait, Mike, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to do it right. I spend all my time working. I'm the perfectionist. I'm sorry to tell you, the research is very clear. You might be a high calibration individual and you might be working way up here. If you restored yourself and you learned how to have some peace and how to have just some rest, you'd be operating right here. Do
Hmm.
you see what I'm saying? The rest and restoration is absolutely essential for the way your brain is wired and for your optimal performance. It's the only way to be the best version of yourself you can ever be. Now, Trevor, I know you've got to deal with this because I've heard you tell the stories, man. I mean, you have been a very accomplished runner and a very accomplished athlete. Trevor's a D1 athlete for anybody who wants to know. If I were a D1 athlete, I would lead every conversation with that. Trust me. That's why he didn't give me that, right? It's like the guy can't handle that. Trevor is a D1 athlete. He never mentions it. I know there had to be moments where that was part of your DNA, right?
It was, yeah. It's funny that you bring that up. So yeah, I spent a lot of time on the soccer field as a player, and then later as a coach, and a lot of miles on the road as a runner. One of the things when I was a part of the running community, and actually, I only became a runner because I got too old to chase a soccer ball, and then I was like, "What am I going to do now?" So now I'm not really. Well, then I started chasing the clock. Really, I mean, after I couldn't chase the ball anymore, then it just became a matter of can I just do it faster and faster and faster,
Yeah,
or go
yeah.
farther and farther. But when I was a part of that, I was part of a running community, and one of the things that just got ingrained in me early on was the principle of active recovery. And like I think all high performing, you talked about whether that is corporate or whether that is in sports, that principle is true. This part, what I love about it is the word active. That there's something about it that actually you embrace, right? This
Yeah.
idea of like, oh, recovery is actually part of the plan. It's not a break from the plan. It's not ditching the plan. It is
Hmm.
the plan.
Right.
Active recovery. And so these were days, even when I was training for marathons many years ago, these were the days that you would stretch, you would soak in the bathtub, you would go for a walk, you would do anything that was just going to loosen you up and kind of prepare you for that next hard run the following day. And it was so critical. So to your point, it was such an important part of the process because you couldn't get out for that next long run. If you just did one today, you're not going to be able to do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have that recovery built in.
So what's wild, and I guess my point in all of this is, I think on some level we know that. I think we read the stories,
Mhm.
we hear guys like you say it's important, but then when we go to practice it, somehow the list of things that we're trying to do to recover end up being the very things that make us more stressed out and more overwhelmed. It's just, again, we're engaging the escape
Hmm.
rather than the true rest. I had this client. I've written about this before, actually. I think I've told you. I think I've told you before.
Yeah.
I was in Atlanta doing therapy, and was working with a couple, and the wife was, man, she was pissed. I mean, she had spent so long just dealing with her husband, who was a high performer, always moving, Energizer Bunny, working 60 hours a week. But he wasn't just
Mhm.
working 60 hours a week. He'd come home and he'd move at the house and he'd do everything for the kids. He was just super husband. It was amazing. I'd sit there and say, man, I know my wife wishes I would do like 20% of what he does.
Uh-huh.
But this lady was miserable because she was like, man, I just want to, I need just a vacation from
Mm.
all of the movement, I mean, she was exhausted by this guy. So it's funny because he left therapy, hatches this plan on his own, right? Didn't run it by me, the therapist,
Uh-huh.
right? And so his wife walks in with the kids from picking them up, whatever. He's there. Her bags are packed. He's got a babysitter. He's like, honey, we're going on a trip. Can you believe what I've done for us? It's amazing. Like he's trying to follow through with this, like the spirit of what this woman has
Right.
asked for, which is rest, like
Yeah.
vacation. I need to get away. But he totally missed the point because he had created this like whirlwind trip, and we're gonna go to New York City, and I've got us tickets to the play, and all we're gonna eat at this restaurant. It was awesome. I mean, I'd
Sure.
go on
Sure.
that vacation, be
Yeah.
cool. But that's not what she was asking. She was asking for rest. And he was
Mhm.
so used to escape. He was so used to grind. He was so used to dissociation. He was so used to anything that could get him away from feeling what he was feeling, or actually stopping and being
Yeah.
with himself, that he planned the thing that was ultimately going to make it much worse. And we do that all the
We sure
time.
do. We sure do. I think as we talk about this idea of rest, I think it's important that we bring into the conversation this sort of part of margin. Now, margin, we know we typically think of like a notebook or where we see words on a page, right? And thank God that we have margin, so that we have space on the pages. Otherwise, it would just be a jumbled mess of words that we couldn't figure out where the sentence structure ends, where the paragraphs start. None of it. But I think a lot of us live our lives without any margin on the page. In fact, I just was recently talking with a client, actually just a couple weeks ago, and they were reminiscing about COVID. And so back in 2020, I think a lot of us recognized the struggle with margin because pre-COVID, we I think for those of us that were in an in-person work environment, we were able to get up from our desk and walk to the meeting, right? And then attend the meeting and then, walk back to our desk or have the conversations around the water cooler or sit for lunch with a coworker or take a client for coffee or have that long drive home, the commute where we could decompress, right? And then COVID hit and instantly everything and everyone went online. And then we just like backed up meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to more meetings, right? And there was this is I think this is when like just as a society we started to recognize like there's no margin. And it
Mhm.
was sort of polarizing. So on the one hand, we were all at home and half of us were like in our pajamas from like the waist down and like some like dress shirt from the waist up and we had our cup of coffee just off screen and and all the stuff, right? And it was like this is the best. And then it was like, man, this is terrible because we didn't, because we couldn't decompress, right?
Yeah.
And I remember talking with people post COVID, about how they would have to like take a walk around the block just to reset before they jumped into their next meeting, or like move from the dining room table, which was their makeshift office for the day, to the kitchen table where they could have a conversation with their spouse or their kid, and then go back to the dining room table and pick up where they left off. And it was, again, just so difficult. And I think for a lot of people, even going back to hybrid and even lots of people who've gone back to in person, the pace hasn't really stopped. I think
Yeah.
there was this shift in expectation in organizations of like just more is better. So we just got to keep going and going and going. And I think we see this as a lot when we think about burnout, when we think about stress, right? There's a lot of factors. I know we're talking about this idea of just being able to find margin. And here's what I think what's so important about that. And it kind of back to your story, Mike, with this husband who planned this crazy vacation with his wife. I'm sure for him, right, he again well intended, this grandiose kind of gesture. But what I think we most often find with our ability to rest and do restorative work is
Yeah.
it doesn't happen in the big moments, right? It happens in the small, habitual, consistent rhythms, right? The things
Yeah.
that we can repeat over and over.
I like the word rhythms. I like the word habits.
Hmm.
It like that it makes sense to me because like you're saying, Trevor, it's the small little building blocks of our life. And
Yeah.
that helps me. Like just thinking about it like that helps me because when I think of rest, I think of boring. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Right.
That's what
Yep.
happens for me. You can
Yeah.
ask my wife. I don't do really well with the
Me neither.
idea of not doing something.
Like
Right?
reading a book and sitting by the pool seems like torture to me.
Oh, that's the worst vacation ever. Ever. I like to read, but
Uh-huh.
I'm reading for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like when I read, I'm reading something because either I need it or I need to know it because of what I do,
Right.
and it's very purposeful. But the idea of saying I want to have some fun, I think what I'm gonna do is like Crystal, let's go to a hotel. Let's pay to be there
Uh-huh.
and let's go down to the pool, which we have at our house. We have a pool at our house.
Right.
But let's not go to that pool. Let's go pay to be at the hotel so we can read by the pool
Yep. Right.
while everybody else reads by the pool. Oh man, that's the
Right.
worst, Trevor.
Right. I agree. In fact, I remember, I mean, for years, Mindy and I talked about going on a cruise. And I mean, you and I, we live in the Space Coast of Florida. We actually live close to Port Canaveral, which is the largest cruise port in the whole country. And like people fly from all over to come out of the port that we could like drive to in 10 minutes, right? So there's no excuse why we couldn't get on a cruise ship. And I remember for years, I was like, that sounds like the worst. All you do is sit by the pool and eat ice
Yeah.
cream and,
Yeah.
and like people watch. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I mean, I've been on several cruises now and I'm like, man, there's so much to do. It's a different experience, but I remember that was my fear. I don't want to get on a boat and do nothing.
And so I think when you think about habits and rhythms, like things that are going to create restoration in your
Yeah.
life, you have to tweak the way you think about it, at least if you're like me,
Yeah.
because you can't think I'm going to have these grand gestures, these massive new habits that are going to define me. That I'm not doing. I trust me. That's never happening. But if I can think about it as like little small things, like this is just sort of what I do. I actually can do really well with that. I can do really well with like little small things that take a second, that take 5 minutes, that take
Yeah.
15 minutes. And I'm finding that the older I get, the more I discipline myself to do that kind of stuff, the more I reap the benefit. And I think that's what you're talking about, right, Trevor?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
saying that there are these like little small things that can make a difference.
Sure. I mean, I think that actually is, I mean, this is nothing new, and you and I know that. I mean, this is as long as, old as the story of humanity, right? When we think about what God gave us the idea of spiritual disciplines, that's what they are, right? They're,
Mm-hmm.
they're rhythms that we build into our lives where that we slow down, like be still and know that I am God, right? Like if we can just start to find these again, not that they're not to-do lists, like you said, they're not outcomes, they're not finish lines, right? That there's rhythms that we can build in. I mean, I think, when I was thinking about this too, one of the things that's really helpful for us as we recognize is those type of intentional moments, those margins that we create. Now, some of them are just for us, right? Like turn, the radio off in the car, just have a moment of silence on your way home, but I think there's also some of these rhythms that are extremely renewing for us, actually are the relational moments.
Mm.
In fact, EFT therapists talk about the idea of a bid for connection, which is these ideas of just being able to say, hey, what if we could have moments of relational connection? And if we think about the way
Yeah.
that God designed it and created us, that's really where renewal shows up, right? It happens
Mm-hmm.
in moments of connection with God, connection with ourselves, connection with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, when we can rhythmically start to, and we already have some of these, right? So like for Mindy and I, it's we share a cup of coffee before or she heads out the door first thing in the morning, or we walk the dog after dinner at night, or for many of us, we go to church on Sunday, or we attend a small group during the week, or whatever it might be, right? That we're just building in these moments of margin, right? That feel rhythmic to us.
Yeah. I even the idea of margin for me, I think has special meaning because I'm the kind of guy that I'll plan my life up to the very second. I, for me, a lot of people say, what do they say? Being on time is late.
Yeah.
Being 15 minutes early is on time.
Yeah.
There's some people that live like that. I live the opposite. Like I don't like getting anywhere early. I don't, because it feels like such a waste for me of time. It's like, oh, well, I could have done this or we could have done this. So why would I go to church and get there 15 minutes early? That's super dumb, right?
It's inefficient, right?
It's inefficient. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much to do, right?
Yeah.
Go, 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 go. But I think the idea of margin kind of it connects with me because if we can build in just little things on the sides that sort of organize our life, that seems more doable to me. And the research bears this out, by the way. I mean, this is not just Trevor and I saying, hey,
Right.
go try this. This is actually data
Yeah.
that we've been studying in our field for years and years. Even high performing CEOs that have the capacity to kind of like step out of something and step into something, to
Yeah.
step out of stress and step into peace for a minute, like walk to the window
Hmm.
and look at the birds fly around, look at the clouds, feel the warm sun on your face, and then re-engage, with the next subject matter, and go for it with your team. And then it's it's interesting, like rhythms. Like think like even look at my hands
Mm-hmm.
right now. It's like the tie. It's like rest and relax and effort and investment, and rest and relax and effort and investment. That it's so powerful when we allow ourselves to put that kind of stuff in place in our life.
Yeah.
We just don't know how to do it. This challenge that we're going to do is kind of help people figure out
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah. In fact, before we talk a little bit more about the challenge that we're just getting ready to launch, Mike, you've already started to do this, but like maybe just some really practical takeaways. So whether people are just joining us for tonight, of course, we'd love to all have you join us for the challenge that follows.
Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to give you guys just some quick takeaways from this live event, and really, I hope just a little bit of a teaser for what's to come in this challenge. We want to spend the next 10 days or so helping you work on this. So, well, what do you do? If you're going to take the last 40, 45 minutes and you're going to try to package it in your life in a way that has relevance, what would you leave here and do? Well, number one, you need some honesty with yourself. You need some honesty with yourself. A lot of times we are not honest with other people because we're not honest with us. And you need to take a real hard look at your life and ask yourself, okay, as Mike and Trevor were talking about the signs of depletion, did I identify with any of that? Take a second. Think it through. When's the last time you woke up really rested? When's the last time you just felt deep contentment? Like, okay, I'm good. I've got a lot of peace right now. I don't feel pressure. I don't feel strain. I feel just real, like a lot of recovery has happened in my life. My Whoop has a recovery score, Trevor. It's
That's
awesome.
awesome. That's cool.
Yes, it's great. So you have to get honest with yourself. That's the first takeaway. It, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And some of you need to understand that if you don't allow yourself to identify the problem, nothing could ever change. So number one, are you depleted? Number two, I want you to think through one thing that truly restores you. Trevor gave you some great ideas just a few minutes ago. How cool is that? Trevor and Mindy sitting at the coffee table, sipping some coffee every morning. Like, that's not killing anybody. How long does it take to drink a cup of coffee?
Right.
5 minutes, right? But just that little moment of connection, that little bit of support from the person that you love. Trevor and Mindy walking the dog. Dinner's over. They're headed out to the neighborhood. I'm sure it's not marathon training. I'm sure it's not. Trevor might be there with the stopwatch. His old stuff might catch you and be like, "Come on, Mindy,
Right.
we got to go." But I think for the most part, it's probably just a chill moment where they can connect. Like, what's one thing that you can say restores you? I know for me, anything that gets me connected to nature restores me. So, a sunset. I can walk outside of my house and there's a little spot that we go to and we can watch the sun go down. And man, it is awesome. I think it's because it helps me remember that I'm a part of something bigger here, that I'm a pawn in a bigger game. Like, some really good humility happens for me when I can just watch that sun go down and say, okay, there's a God that's bigger than me. And all things are for him, and all things are through him, and all things are to him. Like, that moment works for me. Another thing that works is the beach. You give me the beach at dusk or early morning when the sun's coming up. Man, there's probably no place I'd rather be. I can just walk. Those waves are coming in. And what does it do for me? One of the things is it scares me, if I'm honest with you. The ocean scares me. I look
Yeah.
at it so vast, it's so big. I go out my boat and just keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm like, we should turn around. Like I went to the Bahamas the other day
Like
with
it's
my buddy.
really
I was
deep.
like, yeah, it's like I don't. This is super deep, and we've been going for 3 hours, and I can't see land. It scares me, and I
Mhm.
think that being a part of something like, okay, this is very clear, Mike. You're a part of something bigger here. You're you're important. I'm not, I'm not saying I minimize myself and you're a piece of crap. It's not that. It's just an appropriate smallness that we all should have. That's what the beach does for me. It's just like, hey, take a deep breath. Your stuff is not that important. You're not that important, Mike.
Right.
So identify one thing that truly restores you. And then finally, build one simple rhythm of recovery into your week. One habit that you can say, maybe I need to catch sunsets every day this week.
Mm.
Maybe I need to maybe I need to mirror Mindy and Trevor. Get the dog, go for a walk. Trevor, you need to come train my dog so we
So
could
we can
actually
go for a
walk
walk.
it. Yeah, because that would not be restful right now. I'm telling you, I might like murder the dog. The
Yeah,
dog's
right.
crazy. Trevor's dog is like an angel. My dog is a demon. But anyways, maybe you've got the kind of
There you
dog
go.
you can walk. Maybe it's coffee. Maybe it's just a cup of coffee with a friend or with a spouse. What's one thing that you can say, okay, I'm going to try this for a week every day. Maybe it's I'm going to take 5 minutes every hour and I'm going to disconnect from the spin and everything I do and all the important crap that I go through every day. I'm going to take 5 minutes every hour, set an alarm, and I'm just going to walk to the window or I'm going to walk outside and just remember that I live in a big world. Look at the clouds, watch a bird fly around, and then go back into war, man. Go back into the office, go back into your house if you're staying home with the kids and just deal with it. I get it. There's a lot to do, but find something that gives you a habit you can put your mind around that's going to build real recovery, real rest in your life.
Yeah, that's good. So, just building on that, we want to just talk for a few moments about the challenge that we're just about to launch. So, it actually starts tomorrow. So, we are launching a 10-day challenge called Breathe Again. So, why do we call it Breathe Again? And I think just as we've talked about tonight, in all of this kind of idea of pacing and rhythms and honesty and depletion, I think here's what often happens. I think in the midst of what feels like the grind, the heaviness, the busyness, I think what we've been taught to do, what we've been trained to do, what we inherently do is we ignore it, we shove it down, we grind it out. And essentially what we're doing is we're sort of holding our breath. I mean, we can actually physically feel it, right? The tightness in our chest, this spiraling of like butterflies in our stomach, the racing of our hearts, the spinning of our minds, right? Like the weightiness of our shoulders, right? And there's just this like tensity that sort of happens in the midst of that, right? Like holding your breath, just trying to keep it all together. And so this challenge, right? Breathe again. It's a 10-day invitation to be able to say, take a deep breath, right? Just start to let it out. As we talked about at the very beginning, like I think for most of us, we're carrying more than we're intended to. We're carrying it for
Mm-hmm.
longer than we should. And so this challenge, right? If you've felt that recently or you're feeling it now, as I mentioned, this as we're running live with this, from this here we are in the middle of the summer, right? This encouragement, again, to just take this deep breath. And so in the midst of this 10-day challenge, for some of you, you've done this challenge or challenges with us before through Live Well Coaching. For some of you, this might be your first time. Every day, in fact, in this challenge, there's a quote, there's some kind of insight, there's an actual practical, put it into action challenge. And then there's just an encouragement to keep going, to keep working through the journey. And I think one of the things I love about our challenges is, although we keep them short and we keep them at 10 days, the idea is that we're just kind of like, we're just helping ourselves, helping each other, just start to set in some rhythms, right? To set some habits. The idea is it's not done and over in 10 days. It's that we're starting something new that we can carry forward. I think it's also important for this, and we encourage every time we launch these challenges, is invite someone to join you. I think that is so important. It's just better together, right? To have somebody that you can. So these videos that we put in there, they're maybe, I don't know, 12 minutes, 15 minutes tops, right? If you have somebody that you could like talk with about it, there's also opportunities in our challenges and this one where you can write a comment and you can engage with Mike and I and the Live Well coaching team. And so in addition to all of this, there's the idea is we want to build connection and we want to build community, and we would love for you to be a part of it. And so this challenge is just one of the incredible resources that are part of the bigger platform, Live Well Coaching. Mike, do you want to just take us out? And
Yeah, let me just briefly tell you guys what we did tonight is a direct reflection of the heart of Live Well. And the heart of Live Well, our entire clinical staff, is to help people get healthy and stay healthy and live well, period. And a lot of times, if we can get information in people's hands that's preventative, you can put yourself in a position where you never have to walk into one of our clinics. And we're absolutely cool with that. That's fine with us. You know why? Because there's so much work to do that we're going to be fine. Live Well is going to be fine. We just want to help people get healthy and stay healthy and live well. So the whole digital platform is dedicated to giving you information. It's curated information. It's branded by us, but it's more than that. It's chosen by everything on this platform is a result of Trevor and me and other people on our team stepping back saying, man, what do people need to hear in order to get healthy and stay healthy and live well? What kind of information do I wish that Johnny and his parents had, 6 months ago, that they wouldn't have had to walk in our office? Or what kind of information does Sam need, even though he's coming to counseling, to make sure that the depression's in check and make sure that the anxiety doesn't get out of control and make sure that his relationship is the best it can possibly be? That's the kind of stuff that's on this platform. So I really encourage you guys, if you're not on the Live Well Coaching platform, check it out, man. I mean, it's awesome. And this Breathe Again challenge is yours for the taking right now. It's a free challenge. Anybody can do it. And I promise you this. I promise you that we'll give you practical strategies every day, and we will challenge you. Like, hey, do this today. And if you do this, if you do the things that we're asking you to do, I mean, look, we can't guarantee anything in this business, but I bet money that if you do the things we ask you to do, at the end of 10 days, you're going to feel like you can breathe again.
Yeah.
And isn't that all what we want? It's all we want, man. So join us. Join us on the challenge. Join us on the platform. And in closing, I'll just say one more thing. It is our pleasure to give you just every bit of information we can give you tonight. It's our pleasure to have just a few minutes to speak into your life. And we don't take that lightly. We know you've got a million things you could be doing right now. We just talked about an hour on it. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for taking your time to be on this live event with Trevor and I. We just would not have it any other way. So thank you.
Yeah.
Trevor, any parting words?
Like, no, this was great. Man. It's a joy to be able to do this work with you, and I know it's so meaningful for us. I guess I would say, in addition to finding us here in this live stream, however you access it, through that with social media, through an email, you went directly to YouTube. You can find everything about LiveWell Coaching at livewell-coaching.com. Mike referenced our clinics. That's livewellbehavioralhealth.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We would love to stay connected with you. So you can reach us then one of theirs. You can call into our physical offices. Again, we'd love to serve and support any way that we can.
All right, guys. Challenge starts tomorrow. We'll see you there. Hope you
All
guys
right.
have a great night.
Yep.
See you.
All righty. You still there?